An incumbent member of Congress from the great state of Florida is, as of tonight, out of a job. Republican Congressman John Mica of Florida had to face off tonight against another member of Congress, another Republican incumbent named Sandy Adams. John Mica is pretty famous. He's a 10-term congressman. He's chairman of the House Transportation Committee. He's been on this show with me to talk about infrastructure. He was facing off against Sandy Adams, who's a freshman member of Congress, a Tea Party freshman. She had the backing of Sarah Palin as well as Allen West. Well, thanks to the magic of redistricting, John Mica and Sandy Adams had to run against each other because their two House seats have been combined into one House seat. And within the last hour, we got a winner in the race. John Mica declared the winner in that race, meaning Sandy Adams' short-lived but Tea Party-supported congressional career is now over. In the big Senate race in Florida tonight, Republican Congressman Connie Mack has just been declared the winner. That means that Connie Mack will be taking on sitting Democratic Senator Bill Nelson in the general election in November. Today is Election Day in Florida. It has been very exciting, these races and more. But look at how all the politics news played on the front pages of Florida newspapers today. Look, these were the front pages. Romney campaigns in Florida. How would Ryan Medicare plan affect Florida? With full tickets on the trail, two sides spar over Medicare. In Florida, Medicare is an avoidable topic. Ryan will address Medicare in Florida. Medicare shadows Romney in Florida. There are statewide elections across the state of Florida today, but the headlines there are dominated by something else entirely. And therein lies the big problem with what Mitt Romney for President, the Mitt Romney for President campaign has just done with their vice presidential selection. By picking Paul Ryan for VP, the Romney campaign obviously wanted to change the conversation. Boy, did they. Rather than the conversation in Florida today being about, I wonder who Republicans will pick tonight to run against Bill Nelson, or I wonder if a 10-term congressman will get voted out of office tonight, the conversation in Florida tonight instead is, I wonder if Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan are seriously going to kill Medicare if they win the White House in November. If you are the Mitt Romney for President campaign, Medicare and Paul Ryan's controversial plans for it being the discussion in Florida now, that is a problem for your campaign. You now somehow have to convince the country. You have to somehow convince senior citizens in Florida that you don't really want to kill Medicare, even though you just put the kill Medicare guy on the ticket. Understandably, this has tied the Romney campaign into knots for these first few days of having Paul Ryan to answer for. Dating back to last year, Mitt Romney has gone back and forth and back about whether he was for the Paul Ryan kill Medicare budget or whether he was against it. So much has happened since then that I actually think his incoherence on that issue was sort of lost to history for a while. But now that Mr. Romney has picked Paul Ryan as his running mate, that incoherence is not just history anymore, it is policy for now. And it is maybe their biggest problem with putting Mr. Ryan on the ticket. Mr. Romney, his campaign, and his surrogates cannot seem to decide if Mr. Romney is for Paul Ryan's kill Medicare plan or if they are against it. A spokesperson for Mr. Romney told us that Mr. Romney is on the same page as Paul Ryan in terms of reducing the budget, but the spokesperson told us that Mr. Romney will be proposing his own changes regarding Medicare.
With regards to Medicare, I would lay out the plan that, I actually did a couple of months ago that said, again, for higher income recipients, lower benefit, a premium support program which allows people to buy either current standard Medicare or a private plan. And this is the proposal which Congressman Paul Ryan has adopted. It's a proposal which I believe is absolutely right on.
You said during a debate earlier this year of Paul Ryan's latest Medicare proposal that it's absolutely right on. So I'm curious, is there anything about it you disagree with?
Well, the items that we agree on, I think outweigh any differences there may be.
Are there any specific policies in your budget that you say are different?
There may be. We'll take a look at the differences.
First of all, I mean, he did embrace what the Ryan budget. I mean, he embraced it.
I have my budget plan, as you know, that I've put out, and that's the budget plan that we're going to run on.
My plan for Medicare is very similar to his plan for Medicare.
But isn't the Ryan plan the Romney plan? I mean, here's what Mitt Romney...
It isn't.
Well, let me just read you a quote. Hang on.
But it isn't.
I applaud it. It's an excellent piece of work and very much needed.
It sounds awfully like the Paul Ryan Medicare plan.
But it's very different.
Different. Honestly, you would think this would be the one thing they would have prepped for when deciding to pick Paul Ryan to be VP, but they are totally lost on this. It's a great plan. Actually, I'm going to be running on my own plan. My plan is very similar to Paul Ryan's plan. You know, I'm sure there are lots of differences between my plan and Paul Ryan's plan. Paul Ryan is absolutely right on. Our budgets are very different. The Romney campaign is now trying to deflect interest in this issue by saying, ask Obama about this. He's the one who wants to kill Medicare. But when they are asked how Mitt Romney's plan for Medicare differs from Paul Ryan's plan for Medicare, they really don't have an answer, or they've got every answer, or they've got what answer do you want to hear right now? The Romney campaign is going to have to sort out whether they are for or against Paul Ryan on the presidential level. But it is already sorted out for Republicans down ballot, for Republicans running down the ticket for House and Senate. Down ballot, there is no such ambiguity about the Paul Ryan plan. Roll Call and The Hill and Politico all featuring articles right now about Republicans freaking out about what Paul Ryan's addition to the ticket means for every other Republican on the ballot in November. Quote, in more than 36 interviews with Republican strategists and campaign operatives, old hands and rising next-generation conservatives alike, the most common reactions to Ryan ranged from gnawing apprehension to hair-on-fire anger that Romney has practically ceded the election. Quote, very not helpful down ballot. Very, said one top Republican consultant. This is the day the music died, one Republican operative involved in 2012 races said after the rollout. The operative said that every House candidate now is racing to get ahead of this issue. Yet another operative deeply involved in the 2012 campaign tells Politico, quote, a week ago we were talking about jobs, and this week we're talking about entitlement reform. Everybody loves Paul Ryan. Everybody supported the Ryan plan, the strategist said, but nobody thinks Paul Ryan should be the tip of the spear. Perhaps Mitt Romney is going to figure out a way to put this fire out within his own campaign, for his own campaign. But whether they like it or not, every other Republican in the country is now running with Paul Ryan as his or her running mate. Here's how one Republican strategist working on this year's congressional races put it to The Hill. He said, quote, there are a lot of races that are close to the line that we're not going to win now. It could put the Senate out of reach. In the House, it puts a bunch of races in play that would have otherwise been safe. It remains to be seen how much damage this causes, but my first blush is this is not good.